So Diddy, after the Cassie lawsuit, gets hit with a bunch of lawsuits, and then ultimately the raids, and then...
Well, the things that I experienced with him were monster-like. That stuff almost destroyed my life.
He slipped away under the cover of darkness, crossing borders with only a single carry-on and a mountain of secrets heavy enough to crush an empire. Gene Deal didn't just hop on a flight. He disappeared from the map like a man who knew his countdown had hit zero. Sources close to the former bodyguard claim he got 2 chilling warnings in the same week. One came from an ex, Bad Boy Records insider telling him it was time to vanish for good. The other arrived as a late-night knock at his door, with no one there. Just a single bullet casing resting on the welcome mat. This was...
They once worked together a long time ago. They're not friends now. They don't like each other. And yeah, 50 has taken every shot, especially when Diddy has been down.
It wasn't paranoia. Gene was convinced the danger wasn't months away. It was closing in within days. He wasn't dodging a courtroom. He wasn't hiding from tabloid drama. He was escaping the very power machine he once stood guard for. For years, Gene Deal was the human shield in front of Sean Diddy Combs. But now, with Diddy locked in federal custody, staring down a stack of charges that read like a blockbuster script gone brutally real, Gene remains the lone man alive who might still know where the figurative and, maybe literal, bodies are buried. Europe, sources say, was chosen because it's far beyond the reach of American surveillance, quiet promises, and the suffocating pressure of "we'll take care of you." No cameras. No statements. Just silence and Gene's sudden vanishing act from U.S. soil. Before he disappeared, he left behind a trail of breadcrumbs. And what those crumbs point to is nothing short of chilling. In an interview with The Art of Dialogue, Gene claimed he stumbled across a list, what he called a ledger of names. Unverified, unconfirmed, but according to 3 separate sources who know about the interview, Gene believed it documented people who either crossed Diddy or were seen as dangerous liabilities.
Surprised by the evidence that's already coming out in the criminal trial?
No, I'm not surprised. I experienced some of those things. Witness violence.
Disturbingly, some of those names lined up with real individuals who had vanished, gone completely off-grid, or, in a few cases, turned up under mysterious circumstances. We're talking former producers, ex-bodyguards, even assistants who'd been present at those infamous freak-off parties. Gene never revealed the list to the public, but insiders swear he took it with him overseas. We're not saying Gene was claiming Diddy personally ordered every act of violence, but the pattern is hard to ignore. Even former FBI profiler Drive E. Langston has said that in criminal empires, it's rarely about direct commands and more about creating an ecosystem of control. And make no mistake, Diddy built a kingdom where fear, silence, and payouts bought loyalty. Off the record, multiple members of Bad Boy's inner circle have admitted they were handed hush money, NDAs, or career incentives after ugly situations went down behind closed doors. Now, with Diddy's trial inching closer and a key witness already reported missing, the timing of Gene's disappearance doesn't just feel suspicious, it's screaming. So, is that why Gene bolted? Did he hear his own name whispered in dangerous rooms? Or worse, someone else's? The deeper you dig, the darker it gets. Because buried underneath Diddy's legal chaos is another betrayal that slipped under the public's radar, but not past Gene. He's the one who exposed what could be the coldest move in hip-hop history, the alleged sale of the notorious B.I.G.'s publishing rights. According to Gene, this wasn't about honoring Biggie's legacy. It was about a monster payday, possibly $150 million, with not a cent going to Biggie's mother, his children, or Faith Evans. It ain't for Miss Wallace, Gene said bluntly. It ain't for Big's kids. Gene alleged that while Ms. Wallace was in hospice care, Diddy's longtime associates Wayne Barrow and Mark Pitts were finalizing the paperwork, with Puff's blessing. If true, it's not just greed, it's precision-level calculation. What better way to raise quick capital than to cash out one of the most valuable catalogs in hip-hop, right as legal bills and plea deals start closing in? But Gene didn't stop there. He claimed Ms. Wallace never trusted Diddy, avoiding him at events, and even suspected he may have played a role in her son's death. Whether that's raw emotion or something more, The implication hits like a grenade, because if Diddy truly knew or was involved in Biggie's end, then this isn't just a business deal, it's blood money. The whispers don't stop there. Some believe Biggie was never meant to make it to Los Angeles in the first place. Others claim what happened in 1997 was part of a bigger chessboard, one designed to clear the way for Diddy's rise, not just stoke the East Coast-West Coast feud. Those rumors haven't gone away, not from Suge Knight, not from Greg Kading, not even from Keefe D, who name-dropped Diddy 47 times in a single police interview about Tupac's murder. When you stack that on top of claims Diddy tried to buy silence or fund his defense by selling Biggie's catalog, it stops looking like gossip and starts looking like a blueprint. And then there's the circus. Christian Combs, Diddy's own son, bare-chested outside the courthouse, celebrating a partial legal win like his father isn't still staring down charges that could put him away for life. Gene called it clown work. But the real show isn't on the courthouse steps, it's inside. One key witness has already vanished. Prosecutors are scrambling to lock in testimony, and insiders are asking how many more people might suddenly disappear. Because in this world, silence isn't just protection, it's currency. And right now, Gene Deal might be the richest man alive in the art of not talking. A key witness in Diddy's high-stakes federal trial, someone prosecutors believed could blow the lid off years of alleged exploitation and coercion, was ready to go public. She wanted her real name used. Court filings say her testimony was deeply personal, highly detailed, and explosive. Then she vanished. Not delayed. Not hesitant.
Gone.
Her attorney also went off the grid, reportedly over personal matters. Convenient, right? It reads like every script we've seen when powerful players pull strings behind the curtain. Coincidence? Or another entry in Diddy's long-running playbook of intimidation and witness tampering. Because let's be clear, this wouldn't be the first time. Even before the trial began, rumors swirled of phone calls coming from inside Diddy's detention cell. Not gossip, court filings confirm it. Authorities suspect he used other inmates' access codes to make three-way calls, slipping in unauthorized contacts under the guise of legal counsel. That's not the move of a chart-topping artist. That's organized crime energy. And now, with one whistleblower hiding in Europe and a key witness gone, the walls around this case aren't just closing in, they're echoing with secrets someone doesn't want heard. Which brings us back to Christian Combs, shirtless, smug, and doing push-ups outside a federal courthouse like his father had just beaten the system. Gene Deal called him King Clown. But let's not pretend this was just a foolish flex. Cameras rolling, muscles pumped, grins on display. It wasn't the vibe of a family in crisis. It was the victory lap of a dynasty daring anyone to challenge them. And that sends a message to victims still waiting to testify, to future accusers weighing the risk of coming forward, that even under the shadow of a life sentence, the Combs name still dances, still mocks, still dares. This wasn't about law. This was about optics, legacy, and power. Prosecutors even warned that Christian's stunt could sway sentencing. But the point wasn't to win in court. It was to remind the music industry and anyone watching that the empire can still put on a show. If whispers are true and Gene Deal's warnings are legit, Christian might not just be posing for cameras. He could be playing a part in something darker. Because legacy here isn't measured in platinum plaques or awards. It's measured in control, handed down through generations, enforced not by contracts but by silence and fear. Some former Bad Boy affiliates believe Christian's courthouse act was intentional, a distraction to dominate headlines and project strength during a moment of legal vulnerability. No statement came from his camp. Just a confident smile for the lenses, as if this were a red carpet, not a criminal proceeding with human lives on the line. And now, behind the scenes, the stakes are shifting. Federal agents, sources say, are quietly reevaluating just how deep this case really runs, not just in terms of the alleged trafficking and exploitation, but in the layers of influence, intimidation, and control keeping the truth buried. In the trail of sudden disappearances, cold feet, and insiders going dark, the question hangs in the air. What happened to victim 3? Where is she? And more importantly, what was she about to reveal? For all the headlines about violence, power plays, and courtroom spectacle, there's another force lurking in the shadows of Diddy's alleged empire of fear. Money. Not the flashy kind. Not the jets, mansions, or shopping sprees, but strategic payouts, suspiciously timed wire transfers, and high-stakes deals that insiders claim served a much darker purpose. One former bad boy executive described the financial system as a chessboard of protection, where loyalty was bought, silence was rewarded, and betrayal carried a heavy price. On the surface, Diddy's wealth was the image of success. But follow the money trail, and the picture changes. Finances weren't just about building an empire, they were about survival. Take the alleged $150 million publishing deal involving the notorious B.I.G.'s estate. Publicly, it looked like just another lucrative industry move. Privately, sources claim it was fast cash, redirected into legal war chests, quiet settlements, and hush agreements. Executives allegedly pushed the deal forward while Biggie's mother was in hospice care, bypassing his children entirely. The timing was no coincidence, critics say. It was orchestrated while federal investigations into Diddy's empire were heating up and key witnesses were either being positioned or disappearing. Industry veterans say the pattern is undeniable, people close to Diddy receiving large lump sum payments only to cut ties, move away, or vanish from the public eye. In at least 2 cases, lawsuits were mysteriously dropped within weeks of financial transfers never recorded on public dockets. Attorneys for certain accusers admitted they were blindsided when clients abruptly withdrew their complaints. Others quietly hint that untraceable, NDA-wrapped deals have long been Diddy's preferred damage control strategy. This isn't just about moving money, it's about using it to reshape outcomes, bury inconvenient truths, and erase voices before they can be heard. Even the real estate wing of Diddy's empire raises suspicion. When federal agents raided 2 of his homes earlier this year, they allegedly found more than luxury goods, safes stuffed with unregistered electronics, foreign currency, and potentially sensitive material. Financial analysts say offshore accounts, shell companies, and asset shuffling may have been employed to shield wealth from seizure or lawsuits. More troubling are whispers that some of these companies are linked, indirectly, to individuals with ties to the now-missing victim 3. If true, it suggests money wasn't just a tool for protection, it was leverage. And maybe the most chilling aspect isn't financial at all, it's psychological. What if the money wasn't just used to hide wrongdoing, but to project untouchability? What if every million-dollar brand deal, every high-profile settlement, every luxury acquisition was a calculated performance designed to intimidate? In a world where wealth speaks louder than justice, Diddy's fortune may have acted as both sword and shield. But now, with subpoenas in motion and accounts under scrutiny, cracks are starting to appear. Still, with so many transactions off the books and so many witnesses refusing to speak, one question looms. How many secrets has that money buried forever? Prosecutors made one thing clear. Victim 3 wasn't just another name in the file. She had no pseudonym. She was prepared to testify in her own name. They believed her account could establish a pattern, years, maybe decades, of calculated coercion mirroring the claims of Cassie Ventura, Jonathan Jono, E., and multiple women now shielded by aliases. And then she was gone. She wanted to be seen. She was ready to name names. And then radio silence. No forwarding address. No statement. Just gone. Another voice swallowed by the same shadow that's claimed so many who got too close. And what does that say about Gene Deal's decision to flee? Maybe he wasn't paranoid. Maybe the threats weren't bluff. This is a man who once stood inside Diddy's most secure circle. A man who says he's seen what the public hasn't. A man who claims he knows how the machine works and didn't want to be its next casualty. "I'm not coming home, bro," Gene said in his last interview. Maybe he meant it literally. Or maybe he meant something darker. That courtrooms aren't the only places verdicts get handed down. And if that's true, what's next? Diddy's trial date is set, but how many more witnesses will vanish? How many more settlements will be quietly inked in hotel suites? How many names will never make it onto paper because fear did the job first? Meanwhile, the spotlight's only getting hotter. Cameras are circling. Old files are back in play. Even the Shakur case, cold for decades, is heating up again. New court filings confirm Diddy's name came up 47 times in a taped police interview. 47. That's not gossip. That's in the record. Prosecutors in the Keefe D case say those tapes may show not just motive, but method. And while Diddy's camp denies any connection, the timing speaks for itself. One federal case catching fire, another suddenly pointing right back at him. And yet, inside the Combs camp, it's business as usual. Social media still recycles the old glamorous shots. Collaborators keep quiet. Industry veterans shrug. That's just how it is.
But is it?
Or have we all just gotten used to looking away? Because here's what I'm hearing, and it's not coming from tabloids. Attorneys, agents, industry insiders. They're saying there's a bidding war for certain tapes. The kind of footage that could ruin careers, topple reputations, and explain exactly why people disappear. If Gene Deal, once Diddy's right-hand man, had to leave the country to stay alive, what chance does anyone else have? How many secrets are still buried under contracts, wire transfers, and unreleased footage locked in safes? This was never just about one man's crimes. It's about an empire built on control, fear, and betrayal. And it's not over. So I'll ask you, how deep do you think it goes? Drop your thoughts. Stay alert. Stay curious. And remember, the truth doesn't vanish. It waits.